Back with the WMAY morning news feed. I'm Greg Bishop, and I've got pink nails. Thanks to Megan last night painting my nails pink. That's because, well, I raised more than $5,000 for my Real Men Wear Pink campaign. So we can't be any more blown away by just the incredible generosity of people. And some of the names that we've seen donate, it's been incredible. You can still donate. I'm trying to formulate what exactly we're going to do if we reach $7,500. Already had some suggestions about maybe a pink mohawk. I don't know if Megan would be down with that. Or maybe like some pink highlights in my my hair. Who knows? We'll determine that here soon, so stay tuned for that. But I want to hear from you right now at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. You've got Chicago police officers who are getting notes about being on unpaid leave for not following COVID-19 vaccine mandates. You had last night in Springfield some teachers that could face termination if they don't comply with vaccine mandates. We've taken some phone calls, but I want to hear from you more at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. That's the phone number for you to just chime in here live and local on the WMAY morning news feed. What do you think should happen with these employees that don't follow these COVID-19 mandates? Now, it's important to highlight this is not the law. The legislature has not passed a law that says that you can terminate somebody's employment if they don't get the COVID-19 vaccine. There's no law in the books about that. But it is a mandate from Governor J.B. Pritzker to have all educators vaccinated. It's a mandate from Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to have all Chicago police and I believe firefighters as well vaccinated. I think all Chicago city workers have to be vaccinated by a date certain. But we're seeing some of the consequences here. Yesterday, the Chicago mayor apparently sending out some memos to individuals not in compliance, saying that they're on unpaid leave. You have last night the Springfield School Board meeting, parents and teachers supporting teachers not complying with the mandates, speaking out. But regardless of that, the board was still in a vote of 6-0. Moving forward with the possibility of punishing some teachers who aren't in compliance with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate or the masks. But I want to hear from you. 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here for the WMAY morning news feed. What should happen with these individuals, be it Chicago police officers, firefighters? You also have stories about nurses and those in the medical profession not having favor with their employer because they're not following vaccine mandates. These are some of the first responders, those who stepped up during the early part of the pandemic to take on an incredibly impossible job. Like, for instance, teachers, they had to take on not just one Zoom class, but multiple Zoom classes while they were told they couldn't go to in-person teaching last year. And then all of the loss of learning they've had to deal with, all of the just really tough times they've had to help their students cope with. You have medical professionals who are on the front lines, heralded as heroes. I still see those pink hearts all over the place, even on some of the doors here at the radio station. Pink hearts, up on the doors. But there seems to be an effort to try to take away those individuals' jobs who don't comply with COVID-19 vaccine mandates. And again, they're mandates. They're not law. It is the law, according to the Illinois influenza vaccine law, that some healthcare settings can require individuals to get the flu shot. That's specific in state law, but there's no COVID-19 vaccine law. Right now, it's just a mandate. And you do have some people pointing to the Healthcare Right of Conscience Act as something that they say gives them the rights to not be discriminated against for not complying with a medical procedure. So what should happen with these individuals who are facing possible termination? Should these mandates be dropped? Is that even possible to have an administration, be it the Chicago mayor or be it Springfield District 186 or be it a hospital association or whatever it may be? Is it possible for them to reverse course here? Is it possible to reverse course from the governor here? Or are they just marching ahead? And we saw yesterday some news of Governor J.B. Pritzker coming to terms with several different unions when it comes to extending a vaccine mandate deadline, but also coming to agreement with a fourth union for a total of around 2,000, nearly 2,000 different state employees that are going to be covered by that. But what's the next step? AFSCME. They could find some kind of agreement. But what should that include? Testing as an option? We're seeing some individuals not even wanting to comply with the testing, let alone the vaccine mandate. But also, what about those who have natural immunities from COVID-19? Believe it or not, those natural immunities have been shown to be a lot more robust than just the normal COVID-19 vaccine. But that doesn't seem to be part of this equation. Also, something else that doesn't seem to be part of this equation is the therapeutics. Where are the therapeutics? Why aren't we hearing more about those therapeutics? If you remember at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, whenever the governor put the state on lockdown and then revealed his plan to reopen things, he said all this would be lifted if the vaccine's widely available or if therapeutics are widely available. It wasn't it was an or. So it was either vaccines or a widely available therapeutic. Why haven't we heard more about the therapies? They're out there. They might not be widely available, but you could say, hey, we'll get the Defense Production Act geared in and start producing those usable therapies and make them widely available. Why aren't we hearing about the therapies? Why aren't we hearing about natural immunities? And I think all of this seems rushed to a lot of people, and that's one reason why they're reticent of jumping right in and complying with the mandates. 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning. Just listening to what you just said. So are you talking about the trivectin as far as therapy?
No, there's the monoclonal antibodies that's available.
Okay.
That's somewhat expensive, but it's something that is being rationed in other parts of the country, which I'm kind of scratching my head. Why don't they just crank that up? Because it's been shown to be very effective to keep people out of the hospital.
Okay, without getting the vaccination.
Or, I don't know, I haven't seen studies about, because people who get vaccinated still end up in the hospital. We have those statistics. I mean, yesterday, the sad news of Colin Powell dying, he was
Right.
vaccinated.
But whoa. He also had a lot of underlying issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
So please don't try to make it sound like
that's the case. But
doesn't work.
But that's the case. If you want to inject context into Colin Powell's death, you have to inject context into the thousands of reported deaths that we've had in the state of Illinois. We don't hear that. We don't hear that context. So, we should get that context, but we don't have it. But anyways, the therapeutics, I think we need to have a lot more focus on, and the natural immunities that have been developed, but we're not hearing those things. Why?
Not real sure. Maybe because it's due to Big Pharma. That's what it sounds like to me.
It's pretty wild.
And but your question originally was about the two teachers at the Springfield School District. I don't live in that district.
And Chicago Police, and you also hear stories about healthcare workers or even Southwest Airlines pilots and so on.
Right. Unfortunately or fortunately, Illinois is an at-will state.
Yep.
My employer could walk in today and look at me and say, I don't like your hair. You no longer have a job. Now, a lawsuit would probably ensue after that, but we are in Illinois an at-will state.
Right.
Whether it's the law or not that these teachers get vaccinated, it's an at-will state.
But I think some teachers, and they're already hearing this, they're saying that they have a right to not be discriminated against in their job because of their conscientious objection to a medical procedure. So again, that Healthcare Right of Conscience Act, we could hear come into really stark contrast during fall veto session. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
I love how these people don't see how scary allowing this type of discrimination could be and what doors this might open up. these people went from heroes to zeros pretty quick. We are more than willing to risk their lives to save ours, and forcing them to work often. And now we're just kind of discarding them.
I don't know how you square it up. I don't, because a lot of them also contracted COVID, right? A lot of these medical professionals, a lot of law enforcement contracted COVID. They got over it. They have broad natural immunities, but that doesn't account for anything, apparently.
Yeah, we are more than willing to accept their help when all they had was they didn't even have N95. They had to reuse them and reuse them and reuse them. And now we just turned our backs on them as a society, and it's very heartbreaking to me. So
appreciate the call. 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hey, this is kind of what confuses me. Generally, it's conservatives that have been fighting against broadening health insurance, right? In the past, they were against largely the full.
Yeah, I don't want to start saying conservative, liberal, or anything like that, because this is not about that. There's plenty of liberals out there that don't think force is appropriate.
Okay, this is my point, though. Monoclonal immunity treatments are expensive, and they. Weirdly enough,
so are ventilators. Ventilators are extremely expensive. But last year, all the Democratic governors were blasting President Trump for not using the Defense Authorization or the Defense Production Act to produce the thousands of ventilators that they didn't really need.
But the people who are not wanting to get vaccinated statistically represent a higher cost on health insurance. So why is it that these groups are saying these treatments should be available, but they're not for actually supplying and paying for them? And if you're not,
if you have health insurance and you're not on like Medicaid, if you pay health insurance, even those state workers who get pretty good health insurance, they still pay for their health insurance to a degree. They're paying for it. They're paying for that. So I'm not sure exactly where you're going. 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Yeah, the caller before that last one was correct. They did go from heroes to zeros, but really were they heroes? Because they probably had these beliefs from the very beginning that they didn't believe in the mask or the vaccine or the whole thing, so they continued to work anyway. And their beliefs didn't come out until someone, brought up you need a vaccine. So these people already had these beliefs from the get-go. So were they really heroes? In my book, no.
I don't know. I think you'll find a lot of people that would disagree with that sentiment just because they have a particular perspective. They still showed up during the heat of the pandemic to save a lot of lives and did so without necessarily the right equipment available because, everybody else was taking up some of that equipment. Appreciate the calls, everybody.